All right, and welcome to this episode of Better Call Saul, where Rachael Real and I talk to Saul Klein. Hey, Saul.
How's it going? Good to see you, Jennifer.
You too. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, how you guys doing? Anybody buried in as much snow as me right now?
I doubt it. Well,
No,
No,
maybe
you're lucky.
Jennifer.
not happening. So today
Right,
we
not
wanted to
happening.
talk about right now, we've had a couple of years now of low inventory, and there's this battle around should agents combat that with casting a wider net for their territory, or should they maybe niche down in a certain way? So, what are your define what a niche is for us and give us some context?
Well, we were talking about a couple ways to find a niche. One is types of property, types of investments, condos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the condo king, the condo queen, right?
Right.
So property is one type. Another type is by client or client type, or like doctors, lawyers, whatever.
Right.
Right. You prospect that. I actually used to prospect tax preparers. Right. So you want to another way is to prospect. A niche would be people with whom you have a trust relationship.
Do you think that with the market, like with what we're experiencing now with low inventory, that niching is a good idea, or you think that casting a wider net is a better idea?
So again, we might get some argument over this, but when inventory is low and you got all these buyers out there, more buyers than you can possibly imagine for whatever reason, remember that for me anyway, the biggest waste of time, not a waste of time, the biggest time consumer was prospecting.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we could figure out, if your prospects are all the buyers in the world because everybody wants to buy, maybe it makes sense to find within that broader sphere a niche.
Yeah.
Right. And so now let me focus. Okay, all these people want to buy, but maybe I'll focus on the people who are moving into Florida from Michigan. Maybe that's what I'll focus
That's
on.
a good niche to have in the winter.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of niches, right? And like my niche is finding retirement homes for people who live in New York.
Right.
And I live in Florida.
But do you think, and Rachel, maybe this is a question for you, do you think that, because a lot of pushback I hear from people about niching is that will they then leave everybody else out, or will those people not come to them because they think they only do this specific thing?
No, you know what, and I think when you look at it from a broader perspective, I never, when I got into this business, never looked at myself and said, I'm going to create a niche market. I'm going to go after this specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when I started, I went after I created my own sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got started in the business, my kids were 1 and 3 and in preschool. So
and they're old now. Dang, girl.
Right, no kid, right? 19 and 20. Let's please just make it stop.
So I tell you, it's not stopping.
No, it's not. No, I am the shortest person in my house by a solid foot. So when I got started, the kids were 1 and 3, and you do parent talk classes and all that kind of stuff. So my niche, I kind of fell into an accidental niche, which was parents going from their starter home after their first, maybe second kid into a move up home.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've consistently been someone who's just worked my sphere and worked almost solely by referral. I'm just, my niche is my niche by accident. So I think if you're somebody that works your sphere, you're automatically going to have a little bit of a niche one way or the other, because they're going to be people that you surround yourself with.
Right. There'll be people like you, and that, but
right, there are people like me, right.
But even if you don't have that, right, like there are things that you're interested in, you know, like we have certain agents in my market that love mid-century modern homes, and like that is really their niche. And if you have like a specific niche, like a certain neighborhood, you can then like double down on that. And I think it's actually the way that the market is heading. To me, I think it's urgent and critical that people find whatever that niche is.
And do you disagree? It doesn't have to be only one niche. It
doesn't.
But it doesn't have to be one, and it doesn't mean that you're excluded from doing anything else.
True.
Exactly.
As you develop your niche.
Yeah. And if you have the niche, it doesn't exclude, like you said, it doesn't mean that people that aren't looking for a house in that neighborhood aren't going to come to you. But what we want people to do is when they think of whatever that specific niche is, then they think of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I had a number of niches when I was selling real estate. We found out that when we're selling investment properties, that we could make consistent revenues if we started managing properties.
Oh God,
So we
no,
started
thanks.
managing everything that we sold. And so we also got those listings, and we got into 1031 exchanging because
Right.
we had
Right.
clients that own income property that we sold them, that they hold over. So that was a niche.
Mhm.
Right.
Get
And
into-
almost a bit of an accidental niche, because you start
Yeah.
one thing and then all of a
Well,
sudden it snowballs into, I have these
then I met-
opportunities. Why would I not
Right.
capitalize on those?
Yeah, and every realtor that stays in the real estate professional stays in the business long enough has what I call career-making clients. And
Yeah.
I've had several career-making clients, and I had one, and it took me 2 years to really trust her, get her trust and confidence. To then, she was an industrialist. She owned factories in Mexico. And I
Wow.
went down and met her at a restaurant close to the border, something people wouldn't do today, and sold her a property, sold her another property, sold her another property. And then she introduced me to her customers who owned retail stores in Guadalajara and Mexico City.
Nice.
Wow.
Now, I didn't speak Spanish, but my partner spoke Spanish. So she then started referring to us, her clients who were buying second homes in La
Hey.
Jolla. And so she trusted us, they trusted us. And then we found out they needed people to help them put food in their refrigerator before they moved up,
Right.
before they came up, and people
Like
to pick them
delivery
up at
people,
the
yeah.
airport. So we created what we called a concierge service for this niche in our customer base. That didn't mean we didn't sell 2-on-1s, and we didn't
Right.
sell, we did, but we had these other niches carved out, which gave us longevity and gave
Absolutely.
us consistency.
Do
And
you
then
think though,
you
when
become the go-to guy when somebody needs something very specific like that.
exactly. So I mean, I feel like real estate is cyclical, right? So I'm sure that in your career, you've seen maybe a market that is similar to this. Do you think that, and if you have, did niching down pull agents through, or do you think it is better for them to cast a wider net?
I don't think casting a wider net makes a lot of sense. And it also
Why?
depends on it depends on your resources,
Okay.
right? And so if I want to get more bang for the buck, is what I
Mhm.
got to look for in
Yeah.
situations. And when we say niching down, really, we're kind of saying that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Really more bang for the buck in your time and in your engagement and what you're going
Well,
to
and
do.
it kind of like hits each other, right? So like if you have a specific neighborhoods that you like to work, and you door knock and you call and you list property in that neighborhood, it will inevitably then lead to something else because you're there.
So then
Right,
that's a
right.
great point. The niche is really, another niche is just a neighborhood. And we've always had people do that. I've had people who only listed and sold in 3 condo projects.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
all they did.
That's it.
And they made a ton of money. And you kind of knew that that you'd take them a client, even if, because they knew it inside and out, and they knew the
Yep.
models, and they knew. And so, no, you can, and people do this, right? Neighborhood
Absolutely.
building
Yeah.
niches.
And
Yeah.
think about how much easier they make their own life by only dealing in maybe 3 condo projects or 2 towns. We have an agent in our market who's been around for a long time. Most wonderful person to do a transaction with, but literally they will go from this border of this town to this border of this
That's
town
it.
and not leave. It's like the Truman Show. The world ends at the end of these 2 towns. But that's the only place they work, and they do a bang up job doing it.
But think about how much more she knows and that agent knows
absolutely.
than just some random agent that sells one house there every 5 years.
Which is
Well,
part
and
of the
think about
role of the
what would
realtor.
happen. Well, right, and think about what would happen if this agent's got a great market share in these 2 towns. If that agent went 3 towns over and decided to market there, it's going to take him 10 years to get to the same level of,
Right.
of recognition and all of that he has in these 2 towns that he's currently in.
Exactly.
So that's a huge difference. So talk about bang for your buck. You're not getting any bang for your buck if you're going 3 towns over. You got to start from scratch where they don't know you from a hole in the head.
Right.
Yeah. So now this leads to this concept of being a consultant,
Mm-hmm.
right? Really, we're talking knowledge,
Yep.
experience. It
Mhm.
does make a difference. There's something we
does.
can argue about. Would you rather have an
Absolutely.
experienced agent or a new agent? It depends on what they're experienced in.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That is
right.
true. But
And I think you
as
could
we-
argue that 8 ways to Sunday too.
Well, and
There's
as
great
we
arguments
see
for both.
this squeeze on the commissions and the real estate industry in general, I think all agree that as real estate agents, we're going to have to know more about the things that we know more about. Like, I feel like we used to just be a lot really generalists, but now we're going to that's why I'm saying, like, I think finding some kind of niche, and to your point, Rachel, the written niche that you're already in. Who are you?
Right.
What do you
Right.
like to do? What are the things, where are those customers, where are they coming from?
Well, and my niche will go from the move up house to now when my kids were 1 and 3, that was the market that I was in.
Right.
Now my niche becomes accidentally 5 clients this past year moved from Illinois to Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
now everybody's getting the heck out of here, or they're downside.
But you can also like blog about that. You can write social media posts on that, or like wherever your clients are and however they consume your content. It could be in your newsletter. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, if you need to move out of state, Rachel's your person.
Exactly.
You know, second homes.
That's a good one.
Specialize. And so if you've already got an existing client base, then at some point, some of them might want a second home, or Rachel, as you say, certain times people are going to move up. And so really getting into learning that customer base and what they do and what the parameters and interests are, a niche again, right?
It is, but people get nervous about niching, right? They just feel like they think that it will give them less deals. And I would argue you'll actually get more. Do you agree?
And I would almost argue that everyone, if I think about a handful of agents just in my market right now, they all kind of have a niche already. Or have an identity that goes along with them. That one particular agent, only these 2 towns. Another agent, the older generations, you know what I mean? That's kind of her ball of wax.
Yeah. If you went and did a research on the successful agents in your area, I bet you would find that they have something that they do. They have a geographic niche. They have a personal niche. They were a nurse, they were a school teacher, right? They'll have some kind of, in addition to having a general practice within a general geographic area. Right. Especially on that I know more about that building. I've sold more properties in that building than anyone else, right? Or whatever. The credentials then gain, the credibility. Then you can put it out into social media.
And then, you know, when you look at, you know, so the people that I've been dealing with the last year or so have moved out of state. That brings a different you know, bit of situations and bit of scenarios.
Things that they need.
Things. Yeah. They're right. There's just certain things that they need. So learning about different mortgage programs that might benefit them. Yeah. You know, so that they can make that transition.
Or like knowing movers. Like even like how Saul did with his clients in Mexico. It's like you need different things for those people. Like if you're like Alan, my partner's on an island, right? Maybe he becomes the realtor. That you love. Oh, I hate that stupid island. But like if you're a realtor that serves an island, right? There's a whole bunch of things. Like if you're a person that never lived on an island, you're going to know a lot more than they do about coming to this dumb island.
Absolutely. And I would argue that Alan is probably way more suited and way more excited about that island than you are. So, so you trying to market to that people on that island is going to be a lot of
selling the island.
Plus, the information is so available to us, so readily available. So I want to be an expert in my community. So here's something I want to do. I want to go out and take pictures of all the properties. You know, memory's cheap. I want to take pictures. And people say, well, that's not worth anything. Well, maybe not today, but you know what? I got pictures that go back 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
And so I can show what this house looked like before and what it looked like after the improvement. And so collecting digital information on your area will have value. You can go in on a listing presentation and show them what the house looked like before. I mean, just different kinds of things. You know, I get to know my area, and I can tell you from any spot in my geographic location, I can tell you the distance to the closest Starbucks. I can tell you, right? I mean, these kinds of things.
But your niche could be like coffee lovers or like people
cigar
that love
smokers.
Yeah.
Where are all the cigars? You know what? A good realtor would be able to tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's what we're talking about, becoming a consultant around the land itself. And that means then what do you sell there? Well, you figure that out. And who do you sell it to? You figure it out. So again, niches, what are you selling and who are you selling it to?
No, right.
And how are you reaching them?
And becoming that resource to the community, you know, as a whole. It's funny because I'm in a couple of local Facebook groups for people within the town and moms and different things like that. And it's become like an ongoing joke. If somebody needs to know something, they'll try to stump me, you know. So they'll ask me a question. They're like, "Well, you always know." So what? You know, when is leaf pickup? When is leaf pickup start and end this year? When is, you know, what's the rule for snow blowing at 5 a.m.? I mean, it's ridiculous stuff. But they know that if I don't know, I'm going to know where to find it in about 2.3 seconds.
Right. And then you're going to remember it.
It's become the funny game of, you know, a good number of people.
That's
try to
good.
stump me.
I like it.
So you build trust and confidence,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Through expertise. Now, it might not be that you're in front of people like you used to be to do it,
Right.
but
But
now
you're
we
in
have
front
new
of them
tools
digitally.
to do that, right?
Right. Absolutely.
But then once you have that, right? Like then, Rachel, if you decide, most of your clients, like if you want to branch out and get like more clients and people that you don't know, then that would be something that you would post about
because
or that you would talk
absolutely.
about.
I mean, the last year or so, I think I've had 4 or 5 people that have reached out to me just saying, hey, I'll get an email from somebody that says, hey, I'm looking to buy or sell or whatever it might be. And I'll, touch base with them and say, oh, just out of curiosity, how did you find me?
Right.
Oh, I always see you on the local groups and you're always helping people with this, that, or the other thing.
Exactly.
So you kind of become that person, shows
Which is the benefit,
and B, that you're helpful.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And it's the benefit of the niche, because then
Absolutely.
you're really in there and you're getting everything. The juice is worth the squeeze. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So now you've
110%.
got ready source of niches.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Social
right
media
there.
communities.
Yep.
Right.
Because
they're right there.
every niche has a community somewhere.
Yes.
Right. And you can participate and demonstrate expertise. And this is always what we've preached to people is you help and you share. You share your expertise, and that sharing will build trust and confidence, and you will get business from it over time.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Right? It takes time. It takes consistency. You see some of the most successful realtors I know, I see them, I get sick of it sometimes. I see them but you got to do it, right?
Yeah.
You do.
Right?
You do.
And because I'm there every day, I see the same message over and over and over, but that's what you got to do.
Yep.
Right.
So
there's no such thing as a magic bullet. Nothing's going to happen in a year. I'm at 17 years now. And at this point, in the last 5 years or so, it's picked up significantly.
You have new tools to socialize. If I were selling real estate today, I would be very active in Nextdoor. Why?
Yes.
Because now you got all its downsides. I'm going to overlook those. I'm going to find the opportunity there.
Right.
People post enough valuable information there, and that's my community.
Right.
Matter of fact, I probably went to high school with a lot of people that are on that.
Right.
We probably got a lot in common, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what you want, because that common interest leads to trust and confidence.
Absolutely.
And you can find that and then by learning the tools of social media, you can become better at each engagement. You can get more impact through each engagement, just knowing how to do this. And so social media becomes a big point, I think. And the beauty of this is exactly what we're talking about. And that's finding niches.
Yeah.
They're all there.
They're there.
Yeah.
Well, and you have one, right? Like you already have one.
You
like
already have an
friends,
accidental one.
Yeah. Like your
list.
friends can tell you, like, they know what you're interested in. It's because these are the things that you always do, or they know where to find you if you lost your phone and you're missing, because these are places you always go to. They know where you are.
You always wish them happy birthday. You always do those things. Oh, they're a pain. Oh, but you do them, and you do them every single day religiously. And you know what? We talked about this earlier, is it doesn't matter whether anybody else in the world sees it. The person that posted it sees it.
Right.
And that's the person that you're trying to communicate with anyway.
That's it.
Well, and think about this too. I mean, look how easy Facebook makes it to let you know when somebody's birthday is.
Mm-hmm.
Jen just had a birthday.
It's so easy.
Open it up in the morning. Today is Jen's birthday. Today's Saul's birthday. Look at that.
So when is your birthday?
March 3rd.
Coming up.
It's coming.
Rachel, you're summer, right?
I'm summer. Yeah, I'm in June.
Yeah. So I think, do we all then agree that we should head more towards niches purposefully, or does anybody disagree?
No, I think when you say niche, I think it's really working your sphere, which is ultimately akin to a niche.
But if you don't have one, creating a niche and being purposeful about it.
Right.
And part of that is just engaging with people.
What? You have to talk to people?
And find out what they're interested in. You know?
Real estate is a contact sport. That's what we all need to know today.
Like the meme you posted the other day after, with the woman just looking like she had been through a train wreck. This is what it looks like after I've shown houses, written 10 offers, and gotten in a car accident.
Gotten through COVID. Yeah.
Right, yes.
All that.
And that's unusual, right? The market we're in is an unusual market.
Mm-hmm.
And so the skills that you develop in this market are great, but you ought to be looking for the skills that are going to be required
in the future. Yes. And that's why I think that figuring out what niche you're like either that you're currently working or being purposeful about a niche or two and doubling down on that. I think that's, for me, I think that's going to pay dividends for you in the future if you really do it.
Yeah, well, again, that was my whole theme, because I was threatened by outside sources, but I decided that real estate was part of the financial well-being of people.
Yeah.
And so if they needed to buy real estate, that part of their financial well-being, they also needed other things that were part of their financial well-being,
right?
Like stocks and bonds and mutual funds and tax preparation and property management. So it took me a number of years to get the licenses and the certifications to be able to say to someone, if you come in my office, I can list your real estate, I can sell your house, I can do your taxes, I can do your IRA, I can do all those things. But that was a specific approach to niches.
Right.
That's very specific.
It took time.
Right.
It took,
absolutely
10 years to do it. Rachel's talking, how long did it take? You said, whatever it takes time.
Yeah. It's not a magic bullet. You're not gonna farm an area for five minutes or 5 months or even
send
5
one
years
letter.
Or send one letter. I love that. People are like, oh, I'm going to farm this. I sent one letter. It didn't work. Well, you know what? You have to do it for at least 12 months.
No. Yeah. Well,
that's at a bare minimum.
At least. Anyway, you're right. We need to get off before we get on our soapbox. Rachel, if people have a referral for you in Chicago or they want to talk to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Best way to reach me is by cell phone at 630-542-8688 or via email at rreal@dealwithreal.com.
Nice. And so hopefully people know by now, but you have the Data Advocate, which has a lot of context. Tell us about it and tell us how we can get on there.
Yeah. So we think one of the most important things in people's lives is understanding what data is, what it's used for, how it can benefit them, how it benefits other people. It's an overlooked topic, although we see it and we hear about it every day. The fact is most people don't know it, so they can't value it. So they end up giving away a lot of value. So the data, what we want to do is teach people about, they can make their own decisions, but we want to teach them as much as we can about data, the future of data, how it's used, blockchain, all those kinds of things that people should be paying at least a little bit of attention to. TheDataAdvocate.com.
And what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Saul at bettercallsaul.realtor.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for being on, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Saul.